Hi, people. This is DJ.
This is Ish.
And this is
Season
season 3
3
of
Pero Let Me Tell You.
You know, it's really funny that a lot of people don't remember that Jennifer Lopez had like a career kind of slump.
Oh, she did.
For a
And
few
actually,
years.
it was during that time of
It was
Louboutins.
It was. I would say it was like from 2007 to like 2011. On the floor is what made her
Came
prominent
back.
again.
Yeah.
But mira, that movie, The Backup Plan, that didn't do well.
No.
Which that movie was kind of cute, and she had a bunch of songs that came out from that song that didn't do well. And then she released that nobody knows this. Before she released all these songs with Pitbull that everybody likes, she released, which is the song of Pitbull that I like the most, which is Fresh Out the Oven.
Right, yeah, we've talked about
And
this
that
before.
one, she released it as Lola.
Right.
Because I don't know if she did that on purpose or because she didn't want people to like, since the Jennifer Lopez brand wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know what the strategy behind that was. It didn't work. But that song is actually really good. And that was her first song with Pitbull. And nobody knows that song. Like, very handful.
Except for our listeners who can now go look it up.
Well, there we go. And whoever's listening to that, look up Pitbull featuring Lola.
Fresh out the oven,
Fresh
I
out
guess.
the oven.
Pitbull fresh out the oven. Just in case they don't put Lola.
Breaking out here now, breaking out. That song is good.
Yeah.
That song is really good. Well, with that said,
Yes.
now that we gave you a career, Jennifer Lopez career retrospective, but she came out doing pretty well from that.
I think she's
slump.
okay.
Yeah, she's okay.
I think she'll survive.
She'll survive.
She'll be fine.
survive.
Yeah.
Happy episode
125.
125. Welcome everybody. Happy Friday.
25 episodes away from our party.
I love the speaking of Jennifer Lopez, I love that meme that has gone around that I think I mentioned it a couple of episodes ago, that the Super Bowl performance of Jennifer Lopez and Shakira was like the closing ceremonies
Of
to like
2020,
life as we know it.
We would have appreciated it a little bit more.
But at least went out with a bang.
Damn right.
In Miami.
Damn right.
With two Latin women.
Whose hips don't lie.
Right. So if you're going to do it,
Do it right.
Doing it well.
At least it wasn't with like Willie Nelson.
Mira, that I've tried.
To like Willie Nelson.
No, to like country music. I've really tried.
I like country music
And
because
Shania Twain does not count.
because there are certain songs of certain people that I like. You know what I mean? So I can't say I don't like country music, but as a genre, it's like I'm not going to listen to Kiss country.
Yeah, because I remember a cousin of mine, who shall remain nameless, was like,
I love Shania.
oh my God, I love country music. I'm like, let me guess. You love Faith Hill and Shania Twain. Oh my God, yeah. I'm like, no, that doesn't
and
count.
Dolly doesn't count either because she crosses genres.
Yeah, no.
Reba kind of counts.
No, if the country music you like gets played on Y100, it's not.
Or has had a residency at Caesars.
Probably
not like hardcore country music.
No,
yeah,
no.
Yeah.
So, welcome everybody. How is everybody this?
Well,
we're in
actually, let me ask you,
September.
how are you doing? Because this was the first full week of school for Dade County, wasn't it?
Well.
Give or take.
How much time do we have in this podcast? Bueno, fue un desastre. Do you know about the hacker?
Yes, they caught him today.
They caught him.
Right? It's
Him.
yeah.
16 years old.
South Miami.
South Miami High School. Way to represent.
Can't trust those Cobras. On the other hand, we can't figure out how to edit a TikTok. This kid figured out how to hack into Dade County Public Schools.
Yes. It's been a disaster. But, the teachers are trying to do what they can.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids' teachers, I'm sure as well as all the teachers across the board are.
He has more than one?
Yes, are doing the best they can with what they have. Sure. And, look, I think that there's kids like that. This is going to come and go, and it's whatever. It's not going to.
There are kids who it's not going to affect them. Yeah.
But my concern is really for kids that really need special instruction that maybe are behind, or
Even
kids
in
that,
person need that
or
attention.
kids that struggle in school, whether it's because they have a learning disability or just because they're not good at a subject that they need that special instruction. I think that those are the kids that are really going to be affected and maybe even left behind. And it's really unfortunate. But again, it's one of these situations. It's like,
what do you do?
What do you do?
You can't just not have kids learning.
What do you do? Because, a lot of school districts that have opened,
Excuse me.
coronavirus spiked up again shortly thereafter.
Right.
So,
And we are finally on a downward trend.
yes, and I'm sure if the schools here, they would have made because it's like everything. There's people complaining that the kids are not in school, that they should be back in school. I'm sure that if the schools would have opened and the coronavirus would have spiked,
you shouldn't have sent them back to school.
You're sending our kids, to die. So it's like you can't win, right?
Right. Also, realistically, where do you put these kids? Because if you're going to open the schools, I mean, as we've said, you have to take certain precautions, and the fact is there are classes that are overcrowded as it is, so there's no space. Where do you put these kids?
I feel that like no matter where they are, it's a challenge because, for example, in elementary school, kids are smaller, so obviously you're going to get a kid because some of the things that they were thinking about was social distancing in school. Okay, great. But that was going to be with like desks, obviously 6-7 feet apart, plexiglass, kids with the masks and all that.
The whole nine.
It's like, are you really going to expect that small children
6-year-old
are going a 6, 4, 5-year-old, because there's preschool
right.
also in most public schools now, are going to be sitting quietly in their plexiglass covered desk with their mask on for 6 hours and not touch anyone? Good luck. And then the challenge in high school is that high schools are crowded. So how are you going to get from point A to point B with 6
feet apart? Yeah.
Like, how do you do that? I mean, I just think about when we were in high school, molo de gente cabía,
At the entrances especially.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, in Southwest, the only place that wasn't full was a breezeway.
That's true.
Yes. The only place.
That's true.
If you were stuck in A-wing or C-wing,
good luck.
Good luck.
You had to dash for that next class.
Yes. Literally.
Yeah.
It was like Calle Ochoing there.
It was.
Like minus the food vendors getting from point A to
slightly
point
less
B.
giveaways by Café La Llave, but yes.
No, and now Southwest is bigger because when we were there was about 3,000 students. There's there's more kids now.
My God, there's been construction. That's what we're going for.
Yeah, there's more kids now. So I mean, how are you gonna do that?
Yeah.
So it's a cluster F no matter which way you look at it.
So you know what else was affected by a little less seriously, but the MTV VMAs.
Oh yeah,
were affected by the coronavirus. Although contrary to what Entertainment Weekly would like you to believe,
let's call them out.
It was not the first live award show in the time of Corona. That honor goes to Premio Juventud, which did it, and quite frankly, I think did it better.
They did it well, because all the celebrities, or I guess musicians, were in the same room.
They were
there.
Were
just apart.
Right.
I imagine, though, for Premio Juventud, they probably told people beforehand, hey, you're going to win.
I mean, okay, fine, but we're not talking about the Grammys either at the VMAs.
Right.
I mean, do you think anybody who showed up was like, oh, I came because I was nominated?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Taylor Swift looked like she accepted from a Ramada Inn.
I love that Lady Gaga got the
Tri-Hard Award?
Yeah.
Well, Tricon, but I called it Tri-Hard. Which we're not sure what that is.
We're not sure what it is, but
what is the Tri? She's an actor, a singer?
No.
Songwriter?
Honestly, I think what probably happened there was probably a lot of things, right? I think that she is worthy of a Vanguard Award.
I would have waited maybe 2 more years because I think she's 13 years in the industry. So let's do a nice round number.
But I think she is worthy of a Vanguard Award. Right. If I was her, I wouldn't want to get the Vanguard Award in the middle of all of this bullshit. Because it's like, I'm getting this Vanguard Award, which is like the pinnacle of like pop culture and MTV.
The VMAs,
and I'm getting it like this.
From a green screen?
So yeah, give me the Tripad Award or the Tricon Award or the
whatever the hell you want to call it.
The Award, whatever.
I will say I think that they missed an opportunity though. I really, really liked what they did with Maluma and CNCO, who, by the way, up until like last week, I thought their name was Cinco.
No.
Did not know I had to pronounce every letter.
Yeah.
They should have done the whole thing at a drive-in. I think that would have been cute. That would have been fun. It could have been live. Because I'm sorry, most of those performances were not live.
No. While I was watching the VMAs, I kept thinking...
It looked almost like a cartoon.
I kept thinking, I mean, they did the best they could with what they had.
Fair.
And the same with Premio Juventud. But I keep thinking, how are they going to pull this off for, like, the Oscars?
The Emmys. The Emmys are around the corner.
Yeah.
The Emmys is going to be a dry run for the Oscars.
Let's be honest. I'm a movie buff, so I do watch the Oscars for the film aspect of it.
But that's not what most
people watch the Oscars for the celebrity, aspect
the fun
of it.
Yeah,
the women, what they're wearing, and who you came with, and all that. The red carpet, and like the pomp and circumstance.
Yeah.
So, how are you going to pull that off?
How does that translate? Yeah, or does it? Or do you even bother? Do you just go the VMAs route? You know what I mean? Because the VMAs is known for like, it's anything can happen. It's live. And this year it was like, nothing's going to happen because everybody's on a green screen.
Yeah.
And God bless, Keke Palmer was doing the Lord's work.
Yeah. Akila's come a long way.
Oh, yeah. Because to do all of that as if you're talking to a full room of humanity, but it's all like CGI, people.
Yeah.
That is God's work.
But I guess that's the new normal now. And let's see what award shows are up next. In November, it's the American Music Awards.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, the Emmys.
To me, the American Music Awards are still in January.
Oh, that's right. They moved.
Yeah, they moved
I always forget.
13 years
I know.
ago.
I always forget.
Do you know who was the first performer to perform at the new American Music Awards in November?
Okay, so you said 13 years ago. We're in 2020.
No, it was more than 13 years ago. It was like 17 years ago.
Okay, so that would put us at...
It was Britney.
Okay, I was like, damn it. I was
she
like...
sang...
is that what she did the trio, the medley?
She did... I gotta get the zone. ¿Cómo se llama esa canción?
Me Against the Music?
Me Against the Music. I actually could say
Watching you try to figure that out was great.
I'm up against the speaker trying to take the music on. It's like a competition. Me against the beat. I want to get in the zone. See, I could do it.
You did do it.
I'm up against the speaker
Congrats.
trying to take the music on. It's like a competition. Me against the beat. I want to
Get in the zone.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. It has been a minute.
So yeah, award season. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going to go
I wonder how they're going to do Premio Lo Nuestro. That bullshit.
Oh. Well, they'll do it like Premio Juventud. It's on Univision. And honestly, I think, again, when we were watching it, I was like, don't insult my intelligence by putting the clapping when I can see there's like 10 gato.
Yeah.
But at least you're performing to a room.
You know what I love about Premio Lo Nuestro? Is that they're just completely made up.
Oh, yeah.
By Univision. They're like, let's give these awards.
Oh, they might as well be hosted by the Prince of Monaco. They're so made up.
They might as well be the
World Music Awards.
Yeah.
They're just, they don't mean anything, quote unquote.
So for those of you who don't get that reference, so the World Music Awards was this award show that it's still going on.
It still exists, right?
I just don't know if it's televised anymore in the US.
By the end, ABC was televising it at like 1 a.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah. So it was this music award show that was hosted by the Prince of Monaco.
And created.
Yeah, it was hosted and created by the Prince of Monaco. And it was called the World Music Awards. But what was interesting was that they aired them here in the US for quite some time, right? Is that it was a competition, but there wasn't a competition. Like, for example, let me give you an example. So you know how a lot of times when like singers have like a hit, that it's their year, right? They'll sweep an award show, right? But there'll still be other awards that go to other people, right? Like, I remember the year that, like, I think it was when Rihanna released the album Loud, the one that had, we found love in a hopeless place. Is it Loud? Is that song from Loud?
I couldn't tell you any of her album
but
names.
One of those years that Rihanna had, like, a huge hit, right? I remember that every award, it's like, best new art, whatever, new art, Rihanna. Best
record
pop,
of the year,
Rihanna. Record of the year, Rihanna. And then they would go up against like Anastasia and like all these.
Poor Anastasia.
But it was like Rihanna. I remember when Mariah had her like comeback with the Emancipation of Mimi.
Swept.
It swept. Every award was Mariah. I'm like, okay, as much as I love her, there were other people
who maybe deserved,
right? And maybe
like I don't think Mariah should have won Best Country Album.
Just give a couple of people a different award, just for the sake of credibility, But the World Music Awards, and we were like, who really are the World Music Awards?
It's the Prince of Monaco.
So who was it? What was on the Prince of Monaco's iPod?
Oh, that would be no, because this is from before an iPod, so he would do like mixtapes.
Well, no, it was during the iPods too. The iPod
wasn't it before? Well, but it started before that. No,
iPod. It's totally like not cool to say iPod.
It took me a second to think about it when you said iPod.
I still say iPod.
Oh, yeah.
Also because my car says Darian's iPod.
Well, because you never got an iPhone, so therefore
I've never had an iPhone,
right.
And I still have everything on my iPod,
right?
And I'm not gonna switch it because I'm stubborn, and sue me.
Okay. Meanwhile, I still hope to run into Anastasia because she's living in Wilton Manors now.
The singer?
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny that I can't say I ever really followed her career because I didn't really care for her music. And no offense to her, I know she's very talented. I'm not a huge fan of her.
It's just
voice.
not your thing, yeah.
And I just so remember her from The Cut on MTV.
About with Lisa.
With Lisa, The Cut.
Oh, if she was alive now, we might have been able to get her for the show.
Wow, that's high ambition. But
well, maybe because she seemed kind of like crazy enough that she'd be like, "Yeah,
she went to the prom with that kid."
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, she seems like the type that would
fan when
things.
TLC was in their heyday and like their prime. A fan wrote Lisa Lopez to go to her prom with her, and they went. So anyway, I want to bring something up that is actually a really big topic, and we've kind of brought it up here before, but we've never taken it head on.
Oh God!
So I don't know if we're going to take it head on now, but I definitely want to discuss it.
Gonna try.
So this past week, Adele was crucified online.
Oh yes.
Over a picture that she posted on her Instagram. For those of you who did not,
who were not aware of this happening,
the picture, it's still up on her.
Well, yeah, she's not taking it down.
It's still up on her Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's a picture of her with a bikini top that was of the Jamaican flags. Yes. And then she was wearing her hair.
She had like top knots,
Bantu
right?
knots.
Bantu knots, okay.
Bantu knots. And then she had some feathers behind. And
for a second, when I first saw the picture, though, I had to be like, who is this? Because she lost so
much
weight.
She had lost so much weight. And, of course, Twitter went on fire.
Oh, of course.
Of cultural appropriation.
Right. And she was at a... Was it...
Well, that's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
So, the thing with this was cultural appropriation, and why I wanted to bring it up is cultural appropriation is a very, very, very real thing, especially here in the United States. Well, everywhere, but it is a very much a real thing. And a lot of times, the people who are culturally appropriated, if you will, is, African Americans, it's Black culture, right? But in this situation, and this is why I wanted to bring it up to kind of hear your take on it, racial issues are very, very complicated, and as we know, and we kind of forget that they're different in each country.
True.
Because not each country has the same history.
True.
The UK doesn't have the same history regarding, racism that we do. Not to say that there's this worse or better or, know.
Or like in Australia, it's racism, but it's with the indigenous people versus... Right.
But every country has a different historical context in terms of racism and, in this case, cultural appropriation. So I actually read a lot of comments of people from England. And
on her post,
on her post, and I looked at different articles, and what people in England were saying was that the festival that she was going to was
it the Kensington?
It was a festival that was of Jamaican heritage, but I forgot the name of the festival. I mean, it's from the town that she grew up in.
Okay.
Right? It is from the town that she grew up in, and so she very much grew up with this, with this culture.
Correct.
It's very much from the town that she grew up in, and from what I have read and understood, it is common for people because they're celebrating Afro-Caribbean culture.
Correct.
Right? And it is very common for people of all walks of life to dress up for this festival.
Okay.
Right.
So it's like one of those Tortuga Festival type of things,
very,
but much more.
It's
authentic.
common. It's common whether you're white, black, wherever you're from. It's very common for people to dress up for this festival
in that theme, shall we say?
Right.
The theme of the festival.
They're celebrating Afro-Caribbean theme.
Correct.
So she got a lot of shit from people here, and what I found interesting in the comments was a lot of people in the UK, first of all, a lot of Jamaicans, including Naomi Campbell, were totally like on board with it. We're like, oh, great, good for you. Thank you
she's Jamaican.
Thank you for celebrating our culture, whatever. Most Jamaicans were very celebratory of this. And a lot of British people were saying that, Americans, again, making it about themselves, that this is not, that cultural appropriation in England was not the same as here.
Right.
And that, Americans should keep their nose out of it, that they're not the gatekeepers as to what's cultural appropriation or not.
Bien hecho.
So, and that was overwhelmingly what
The response.
responded. I also went to a couple of people that I follow on Instagram that are from England, and I asked them straight out, I'm like, what do you think of this? And they go, no, in England, I know this festival, people dress up.
That's what they do.
That's what they do. They dress up, and there's never a problem with it,
Okay.
And most of the hate coming was from American Twitter.
Would it be the equivalent of, say, if you went to Calle Ocho and you wore a Cuban flag shirt or a Nicaraguan shirt?
Well, that's kind of like saying like a white person wearing guayabera.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, a white person wearing a guayabera to Calle Ocho, let's say. It's that equivalent.
Well, because I think cultural appropriation has different layers.
Right.
But different layers. But the reason I wanted to bring this up, and we could talk more about cultural appropriation, but in terms of Adele and specifically, was how everybody here
had an opinion
on this side of the pond was waiting to like crucify her.
Right.
But you forget that maybe in England, this is something that is not inappropriate.
Well, we've never waited for context or facts to have an opinion in the
Well,
US.
that is true.
I mean, why start now?
And also, I am the first one to call out cultural appropriation, and I believe that cultural appropriation is a problem.
So let me, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me ask you a question, because I have a hard time really seeing cultural appropriation versus appreciation of a culture.
Okay,
does that make sense? I know I'm using the same words, but it's like, what is the difference? Say.
Okay, let's look at the definition, and I have the perfect example for this.
Okay.
So the definition of cultural appropriation is the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption of customs, practices, ideas, etc. of one people or society by members of another, and typically more dominant people or society. That is the meaning of it. I'm going to give you a good example that I think is cultural appropriation, and I always kind of found it wrong.
Okay.
Even though I like her. I always thought, and again, I'm a fan of hers. I always thought that Gwen Stefani culturally appropriated Japanese culture, because those Harajuku girls, people forget that they had names: Love, Angel, Music, Baby.
Yeah, of course. She name checks them in her song.
Love, Angel, Music, Baby, hurry up and come and save me.
Yeah.
She used those girls as props.
Okay.
Right? And she had all that like kind of Japanese.
Would it have been different if she hadn't used the girls, and she was just using the culture?
I mean,
as,
I would have
as
had
inspiration for her albums.
I would have had to seen it, but I think that that's cultural appropriation, because she was using these girls, and she had a whole like with that album, a whole like world tour and videos of these images of these girls that she was using as props. And the Harajuku culture is very much a Japanese thing. Right. I think that was cultural appropriation. I think Miley Cyrus being now the self-proclaimed queen of twerking, that was cultural appropriation, because Miley Cyrus is from Tennessee. She is the whitest white girl there is.
We love her.
Because it's not like when Miley Cyrus grew up listening
She's not Eminem.
Urban music, right? Or that was a big part of her culture growing up and her influence, right? But she is like the whitest country girl there is.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but for her all of a sudden, so many years into her career to start twerking, and everything's about twerking and twerking and twerking and twerking. I think that that's cultural appropriation. I don't think it was ill-intentioned.
Right.
But I think that is cultural appropriation.
What about Madonna in oh my God, I can't think of the name. Nothing Really Matters, where she's got the kimono? Because that's where I'm coming from, is like, at what point do we say it's cultural appropriation versus inspiration? Because to go back to the Gwen Stefani, like, maybe she was in Japan and she was so inspired by all the culture, and that's what catapulted the look of the.
You could say that like Madonna went through like a geisha phase, and I remember when she went through that phase, she said that she was inspired by the book Memoirs of a Geisha.
Does acknowledging the inspiration
I think it
take
does.
away,
I think
take
it
away
does.
from the
It
appropriation?
does. I think it does. You have to acknowledge where you got it from.
Okay.
I wouldn't make the argument that you could say she did culturally appropriate, but it was for
She
a video.
stylized it too.
Right. It was stylized. It was for a video. And it wasn't like. This was, I mean, with Madonna, you could make so many because she went through middle, like an Indian kind of phase,
True.
and you could say it's kind of things that inspired her. Although I'm sure there's people who would say it's cultural appropriation.
Right.
But in these other instances of these other girls, like they were using these things kind of like as props.
Okay.
And I think that is, that's not great.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I wanted to understand a little bit more, because at what point, like I said, at what point is it inspiration versus appropriation, right? And then do you just kind of say to everybody, well, you, Miley Cyrus, I'm making it up, you can't have an album inspired by salsa in the Caribbean because you're not Hispanic, so don't do it. You can't do it. That's wrong. Like, well, fuck, she's an artist. I mean, you don't know where inspiration is going to come from.
Right, but it depends. It depends because, for example, if right now you could make that argument, like whenever there's like a Latin resurgence, that Latin music becomes and Latin culture becomes very popular.
Happens like every 10, 15 years.
If Miley Cyrus were to do a Latin record, I'd be like, but where did this come from? Like,
right.
Right. You could make an argument that's cultural appropriation. I'm jumping on a bandwagon because right now this is really popular, and I'm gonna make a video. If Miley Cyrus would have had a bunch of Cuban or Caribbean friends, and she loved that life.
She's all about that croqueta life.
She was all about the croqueta life. The lechon life. To quote us, then I'd be a little bit more like, okay, maybe it's an ode to like her friends and stuff like that. But all of a sudden,
she's like the queen of salsa. Yeah, not quite.
I don't know about that.
Okay, all right. No, that's fair, because I think to your point, it's a slippery slope. You know what I mean? Where it's a fine line, and I know that it's there, but I think in today, to go back to what you were saying about Adele, in today's cancel culture, we're offended by everything. It's oh, you did this thing, that's wrong. It's like, but did you bother to ask me why I did it? Where I was when I did it? What was the we're not talking about blackface.
Right.
Adele didn't show up there in blackface.
Mm-hmm. Well, but again, it goes to the content of, that's why I said that it's a complicated, multi-layered discussion because each country has a different past.
Right.
A different racial past. And, if in the UK, going to this festival, even if you're white, because the whitest of white people are from the UK, wear that. It's very commonplace to wear that. Then as an American who I'm about to scream out cultural appropriation because here it is a problem, I need to step back for a minute.
I need to ask a question.
Because, okay, maybe over there it's culturally okay. And that's why when somebody said, you're not the cultural gatekeeper.
Right.
That's
a great phrase.
Yeah. I thought it was adequate. And, and we have to remember that cultural appropriation, you hear it most when it's somebody white culturally appropriating black culture, which is the most predominant form in the U.S., at least in the U.S. But it happens all the time, with Latin culture too.
Oh, yeah.
All the time, from whether they're, how many times...
Ay, yo estoy cansado de ver a Talia wear a kimono.
No.
Reverse
of Americans,
appropriating
people in the U.S. appropriating Latin culture.
Cinco de Mayo, which is not a thing.
Yes, actually, a lot of people were saying that here in the U.S. it's like we want to be, the gatekeepers of cultural appropriation, and we celebrate Cinco de Mayo, which is not even something Mexicans celebrate.
Yeah, it's not. It's a Corona holiday.
We eat a type of food, Mexican food, which is not even real Mexican food. Yeah. So
who are you?
Right. So, I mean, we're all a little guilty of it. I've always personally found a little bit, and this is just me, because, I'm very PC. I've always found a little kind of insulting when people as Halloween costumes dress up as a different culture. like in a poncho or like maybe in a kimono and all that.
But what if it's a sexy poncho?
Because it's like you're making a costume, which sometimes is in a way a mockery out of something that's very culturally relevant to some people. And I know especially like the kimono, like I've seen some people that like these beautiful kimonos, you know. But then again, you know, well, for Halloween it's different because for Halloween you're doing it for shits and giggles and for fun. But then, for example, look, if you are white or Hispanic or anybody for that matter, and you're invited to an Indian wedding, how do you have to dress?
Yeah, you have to wear the sari.
Yeah.
But if they were to take a picture of a blonde, blue-eyed couple, the lady wearing the sari with just a beautiful background, out of context, that picture screams cultural appropriation.
So,
but you're at an Indian wedding,
let's say the Fontainebleau to a beautiful Indian wedding, but you and your boyfriend or whatever decide to take a picture, you know, in the lobby, and you post it on Instagram. Oh, cultural appropriation! I'll be like, bitch, I was going to an Indian wedding.
Right? Like, what am I supposed to do? They told me I had to wear this. Like, I mean, it's beautiful. I love it. It's gorgeous. Actually, you know what? Well, we'll talk later, but there was an instance with somebody we know who was at a party.
Yeah.
That I was like, it was the theme was Indian.
Right.
And I was like, this is because they're all Latin. Otherwise, if there was white people, all those pictures, somebody would have screamed cultural appropriation.
No, but for those things, I get it. Because it's like you're making kind of a little bit of not a mockery, because you're not intending to be a mockery, but you're using my culture as like a theme. Like a theme you could buy at Party City, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And when that's one of those things that, like, while not ill-intentioned, when somebody sits down and says, hey, look, this is my culture. This is how, you know, my people, this is very important to us. And you're turning this into like, yeah, what theme do you want? You know?
Right.
You know, you can't.
I can understand how that would upset someone.
Exactly. At the very minimum, you have to understand that.
How that could be upsetting.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Adele got a lot of heat. Adele's broken the internet a few times.
Well, you know why she's broken the internet? Because she's a girl gone boss.
Oh, yes. She sure is.
Just like this week's guests.
Oh, yes.
We have the co-hosts of the podcast, Girls Gone Boss, two ladies, Alex and Gabby, who they're located here in Miami, although because of Corona, we had to do it via a virtual interview, as we've done every interview this year. And
one of them was like a couple of blocks from my house.
Yeah, seriously. Like, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so they talked to us about their podcast, what inspired them, and, you know, what they've got coming up around the pike. So without further ado, we have our interview with Girls Gone Boss. All right, listeners. Now, as you know that, you know, DJ and I, we consider ourselves feminists, and we've had our share of ladies on here who are boss ladies. But I think it's fair to say that the two guests we have with us today epitomize that boss mentality, because after all, they are the hosts of a podcast called Girls Gone Boss. Welcome, Alex and Gabby. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're welcome for letting me tell you.
We're so excited to be here. We've heard so many great things about you and heard the podcast. So congrats on everything you're doing. And we love that you're local. We're all about Miami. So
same here. Gabby just saying, I love your pink mic. Got to put that out there. Sorry. I'm totally digging the mic.
Thank you. This is our signature pink mic.
Well, it should be.
We're so basic next to them with our mics.
Right?
You have a cool mic. You have like Ish has like this professional mic. Like that.
Well, you know, but you ladies have to have a signature mic. You know, you've gone boss. I mean, once you go boss, you have to have a signature mic, right? Isn't that the rule?
The mics have to go boss too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about? I mean, you know, you've had the podcast for a while now, but how did the idea come up? You know, for this show.
So a few years ago, like 5 years ago, Gabby and I were working it was a little bit longer than that. We were working together at Viacom, and then Gabby left to go work at Warner, and I stayed at Viacom, and we would meet up for lunch because we worked really close together. And I brought up to her, I was like, I really want to do a podcast. And she's like, I have the exact same idea. We should really do this. we felt that there was a lack of female stories on podcasting that resonated with what we were looking for. So there's always like the Sheryl Sandberg, the Oprah, these really top high women that we all look up to. But there was no one that was like C-suite level or like the VP of marketing for Apple or Google that were telling their stories of how they came to be. So we thought that it was important to highlight those women.
Like behind the scenes kind of ladies.
That we look up to. So that's where the whole idea came about. And it took us a little bit of time to start the podcast because it was an idea that flourished over time. And we finally did it about almost 4 years now. We're going to go into season 4.
Wow. Congrats. 4 years.
Yeah, and like Alex said, it was just about highlighting the everyday woman like us that has like started their journey, like whether it was, you know, from a college opportunity or not even having gone to college, but that they have established themselves really well in their respective field. So we were really excited about talking to that women that we could like aspire to be, that was attainable, you know what I mean? That people can relate to. And it's been we have over almost 100 episodes, I don't even know, and it's a lot of women in different industries. So from, you know, someone in the entertainment field to like mental health therapists, to, you know, we just interviewed someone from Amazon that sells products on Amazon. So like we also like want to do interviews where we give tools and resources to women, because most of our listeners are entrepreneurs and women who are professionals or like are really go-getters. So we want to do also interviews with women that can give them those tools. So that's why we're talking to someone at Amazon, because apparently you can make a lot of money selling products on there. Yeah. And there's someone that can teach you how to do it and how to really optimize it. And we had a full episode on that.
Right. Now, going through your episodes, that's something, as you girls said, that I noticed immediately, that it was all these women in these really important and relevant positions. But yeah, I did notice that it wasn't necessarily like celebrity women or people that you would hear of on the news. Everyday women, you know, taking charge. So how do you find these ladies, and what inspires you specifically to each guest to want to interview them and bring them on the show?
Well, you know, initially when Alex and I started, it was really tapping into our network. We have, both of us have 16 plus years in the entertainment business. We both started in television. I now work in the music business. Alex is now also working in production. So we have a Rolodex, honestly, is pretty big. So we started there. We hit up our friends, you know, we had sometimes episodes with each other, and we just wanted to really give a variety. So we, you know, if we had already talked to like a blogger, let's say, then we weren't going to go and talk to another blogger. Then we wanted to have like maybe somebody else that would bring a different perspective. So that's how we first started. Then as the podcast grew, we started just getting pitches. We started getting publicists reaching out to us with guest ideas. And sometimes, you know, I drop into the DMs and I hit up people. Yeah, you gotta slide in the DMs here.
No. I'm laughing because I do the exact same thing. Like, it's like I'll go to somebody's IG and like, okay, they have an email. I'll reach out. Oh, I can find a publicist. And last resort, it's just like, you know, DM like, hey, hi. So here's who we are. Here's what we do. You want to be on the show? And it's amazing how many times it has resulted in something.
Yeah. It truly worked. We did that with Mirtha Michelle, which is an amazing poet. And she said yes, and we had her on the podcast. So it's a combination of all those things.
So, you know, you ladies, you say you have a background in entertainment. Sorry, I blanked there for a second. Do you feel that this is an extension of what you've seen in your respective industries as maybe underrepresentation of women in positions of power, especially being Latina women? You know, you obviously, it's like, okay, women are underrepresented. Now let's add another layer, add another layer, add another layer. Do you feel like this was a response to that? And have you seen that the response back has been, you know, along those lines?
Well, I definitely feel like it's a platform to celebrate women. And I feel like a lot of the times, yes, we need a little bit more recognition, especially at executive levels. I do feel there needs to be more representation. And not only in entertainment, I think it's just overall. We know there's disparities there. So yeah, how beautiful that we can create a community where we celebrate those women that have, worked their way up, have put in the sweat and tears it takes to get to the top. Because it's not easy. You have to fight through, a lot of, different obstacles. But
you can say it. Fight through a lot of bullshit. You can say it. It's.
So what I've noticed is that there's a lot of women that are in management, but after that next layer, women are not really being represented. They're not getting C-suite positions. It kind of maintains in that management role, and that's something that I think that we really need to break free up. Right?
There's a glass ceiling.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've brought it up on our show a couple of times when we speak on these issues, especially of representation. There's a very prominent hospital down here in Miami where the elevator bay is. Right across the elevators, there's the board of directors, and they have a picture of the entire board. And there's probably like 35, 40 people on the board, and there's one woman, and a black guy, and that's it. Everybody else is, a white man. And I'm like, and this is Miami, which is just a diversified city. And I'm like, if you ever want to show that, like, minorities, whether it's ethnic, national, or women, still don't have the same representation as white men, here you go. Like, right here, one woman.
Yeah, and then add women, but then add minority women, even less.
Right, that's another layer.
Layer, brown and black women, Asian women, less. So, there is very much a disparity, and we hope that it changes. We hope that our platform, empowers more women to prepare themselves to go into those roles and go into them confidently, because that's a thing that we also want to empower women through our podcast. And so we hope it does change.
You had an interview sometime back with, I believe her name was Erica Hernandez, that she came up with a brand Latina made. Yeah. And I was listening to that interview.
That was a great interview, by the way.
It was one of those things that it doesn't dawn on you when you would Google Latina made, like she was saying the story to you on, the stereotypical images that would come up, and then obviously thanks to her and the whole algorithm, because it's all about the algorithm nowadays. She that direction. That's amazing. That is, one of the, and congratulations, because I feel that's one of those stories that really needs to get out there, because, most people probably wouldn't know that, and wouldn't know that it was just, this woman who just, she wasn't a CEO of a company or anything like that. She had a vision. She changed it. I thought that was remarkable, the whole Latina made thing. So
Erica is an exceptional woman. She's a boss, and that's exactly why we wanted to highlight her in that episode, because it wasn't that CEO per se, but it did take a Latina with a lot of guts and a lot of a lot of hustle to make a change. And there's a lot of us like that, and that's exactly who we want to talk to.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, what would you say, again, starting a podcast, as we know, it can seem a little daunting, can seem a little like, I have no idea where to start. And I feel a little more comfortable asking you this question because in one of your more recent interviews, you revealed that you're actually contemporaries of ours age-wise. Won't say what that is, but when I was listening to you guys at first, I felt like, oh, these are these two like 20-somethings. They're like all in it and hip and happening and whatever. But so you're closer in age to us. So what are some of the things that you found kind of surprising when you decided to start? Because one of the questions that DJ and I get a lot is, I've always wanted to do a podcast, but I don't know where to start, and I've always wanted to do it, but I don't know, and there's so many, and how do you do it? And obviously we have our perspective and our our thoughts on it, but wanted to get yours, from one of the challenges and surprising. And
so Gabby and I are like J-Lo. We have no shame in our game, and we don't mind sharing our age. So Gabby is 40, and I'm turning 40 next week.
Happy birthday.
So, thank you. So
also, congrats on your baby. Sorry, I had to.
Thank you. Isn't she the cutest?
So adorable. So cute.
Thank you. So, we get the question a lot as well. Where do we start? I don't know where to start. So when we first started, I think that Gabby and I have the personalities that we just go for it. We're not really fearful of things, and I think that that's the key, right? Mm-hmm. Just not giving a shit what anyone else has to say or their opinions, and just going for it. So I think that that really helps with just going for it. Now, when I first started podcasting, I couldn't even talk, you guys. If you listen to like the first episodes, I was completely mute because I was so shy and so embarrassed, so introverted that no words would come out of my mouth. And Gabby kept pushing me, and then she started making me do live events, which was even worse because I would like literally pee myself. I was so up. There's a really funny story. The first live event that we did, Gabby, remember the running event? So we went to do a live event, and before all these women went out to run, I don't know how many miles, our job was to inspire them. And I'm telling my inspirational story, I said a joke, and not one person laughed. And I wanted to just crawl and die. And the whole joke was that Gabby's from Nicaragua. So she's like, oh yeah, because I was born in Nicaragua, and everybody started cheering, yeah, Nicaragua. And then when it was my turn to talk, and I'm like, yeah, because I'm Peruvian, you Peruvians in the house, and it was complete silence, and I almost died. So it's been a long journey for me to come out of my shell and do this podcast, but it's just honestly starting. And I'm so
proud of you, Alex. You have you're a shining star now.
No, I know. But I am a no bullshit person. I tell it how it is, but when it comes to like public speaking or on the spot, I just completely shy away. But I've really flourished.
That's a great story. So everybody, all the Nicaraguans were in the house, but apparently Peruvians were not.
Had not arrived yet.
Embarrassing. It was so funny. No one can see her face, but she's dying right now.
Oh, we can see.
Yeah, the listeners.
So I know this is a typical question, but I mean, it's still something that's relevant. And what would you say, specifically with Latin women, is still the biggest obstacle today?
With Latin women?
Because we say there's progress, and there has been progress across the board for a lot of people, but there's still a lot of obstacles that different people face at different levels.
Just to reference back to what DJ was saying, Latin made, right? Like,
right.
Is that still the biggest obstacle, or has it evolved?
Well, I mean, I just always see it as like being Latina. To me, we have so many amazing qualities that anybody in leadership, I think, would get from Latinas. We are resilient. We come from, most of us, immigrant parents here in the U.S., so we know about struggle. We know about chasing our dreams. We know about getting shit done. But I think the obstacles are just, the disparity in ascending women of color. And there's pay disparity. There is also disparity in just allowing women to maybe, kind of their stigmas on us. Maybe they always, think that we're loud or opinionated. I think it's like a Latina, in our Latina nature to
and who says those are bad things?
Exactly. Who says that, right? But I just would think those are kind of like maybe some of the obstacles, maybe the stigmas put on women, the stigma of becoming a mother and a leader and a boss. And we know we could do that. Alex is doing it very well. Yeah. There's a stigma of like motherhood and being able to be leading in an important position, and we know that's not true. Pay is obvious, and then another thing that I think is an issue sometimes is women supporting women, and that's what we want to create. And with Girls Gone Boss, we want to create a culture of women that want to help women. So if you're at the top and you are that executive that is one woman with millions, with the rest men, mm-hmm. I want you to be able to mentor that girl to come up with you, you know, or mentor women within your organization. How do you empower them? How do you give them tools? So I think is creating more opportunities for women at the top, but also for women that are already at the top to help create more opportunities for the ones coming up.
So for me particularly, I haven't faced any disadvantages being a Latina woman, but I have faced disadvantages being a woman in general, which, to tell you a story, in one of my old jobs, I was due for a promotion, a very well-deserved promotion. And I went out to lunch with my boss, a male boss, who I looked up to so much and who really helped me grow within the business. And I was sure that I was going to get that promotion and that next level in my career. And when I brought it up to him, his response to me was, why would you want that promotion? Don't you want to be a mom? And
oh my gosh.
Off in my life. And after that, I never looked at that person the same. And I knew that he didn't truly have my best interest. Like not that he pretended, but there was like a level of up to how much he was willing to go, right? So they ended up giving the position to someone else that had the qualifications, but that just took the department to complete shit. Like that person ended up leaving. They ended up giving me that role after many years of me fighting for it. And it was just really sad because me wanting to be a mom should not have anything to do with my growth or how passionate I am about my job or what my qualifications are or what I want to do or how much I can grow. Like it didn't make any sense to me and it just pushed me further.
Right. That's terrible. Actually, you know what? That leads into the next question I wanted to ask you guys. In terms of discrimination or even just archaic thinking, would you say a lot of it is also within the Latin community, from, you know, obviously Latin men? And the reason I ask this is a couple of weeks ago, I was at my parents' house and my father was watching one of these Latin-based news stations that they have here in Miami. And they were talking about, at that time they had just announced that Kamala Harris was going to be the vice presidential nominee. And they were talking about that she was ambitious, but they were saying it as a liability. Like, oh, porque esa Kamala Harris es una mujer muy ambiciosa. And I remember we talked about this on our podcast. I put the phone on the TV on pause and I go, wait a minute. Do you see what's going on here? They're calling this woman ambitious as a bad thing.
Yeah,
this
it's a detriment.
This would not happen if she was a man. And that was coming from, obviously, another, you know, it was a Latin-based news.
Sí, pero era un hombre latino, you know, a Latin man of a certain age.
Right,
certain,
but
you know,
still, it was one of our people.
Archaic.
So I was thinking, like, my God, within our own community, like, this is something that now women have to also fight within their own communities, that archaic thinking.
Well, yeah, that's what I brought up, that same stigma that we have. I think that's mentality from, it's a lot, I feel, it's my personal opinion, it's mentality from like Latin America, being raised there and maybe having like old traditions and maybe like gender roles were a little bit more defined in a very old school way. But I'm more Americanized. I came here when I was very young and I don't think that way. So it's generational, I think. And some people, you know, either break that chain and still think that way and think that women shouldn't be running for vice president or women shouldn't act a certain way because that's going to make them seem aggressive or, you know, too much or, you know, oh my God, ¿quién se cree ella? You know? So, but I choose to, you know, there's people that choose to change that narrative. And because we have worked so hard to change, to get rights for us as women. I mean, not too long ago, we weren't able to vote, imagine. But we need to just continue just speaking, like, just speaking truth about who we are. And I don't think that, I think it's generational. And I think it's a lot of education from us to our parents. I mean, I still have to teach my mom certain things that aren't right, but it's something that they were raised thinking it was.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because we're in 2020 and things are like that still.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys think, I mean, I particularly don't feel that way, but I feel that people that were raised in mentality have like gender roles that don't make sense necessarily.
I think there's still a lot of stereotypes. I mean, specifically about women, I think there's a lot of stereotypes that people still go by. For example, a couple of months ago, there was somebody that I knew who was just a few years older than me, that I was shocked at something that he said. He was talking about, we were talking about cars, and he was saying something along the lines of like, oh, General Motors right now is in the crapper, which is not doing very well right now in its product line. And I'm like, yeah, but they're trying. And he's like, well, yeah, because the CEO is a woman. What do women know about cars? I was like, wait, hold on.
I guarantee you, the average woman probably knows more about cars than I do. Okay, and I've got a penis. I don't know jack about cars.
No. When this person was saying this, I was like, wait, did you just say this? Did you really just say that? What do women know about cars? I'm like, that's not even what it takes to be a CEO, right? It has nothing to do about that. But just the fact that somebody who was sort of young in 2020 said that to me still shows that there's a lot of people who have these, roles for women.
And for the record, this was not a joke.
But that's messaging that comes from, it's been ingrained in your head. Like, there's so many things that we think, like, that we don't even know where it comes from, but it's been so, like, ingrained in our heads that it's just, like, what it is, right? So you automatically think, oh, cars, men. Beauty, women. Yeah. So... But says who, So it's all cultural. It's how we change our view. We have to open up our mind because it's not like that.
It's funny because when I became a parent, that's something that I was like, obviously you have that realization that you could shape this little mind, that I was like, man, how can I do this differently, right? That he not be raised with, even, in our generation, with like the norms.
Preconceived notions.
Yeah, preconceived notions across the board about a lot of things, not just gender issues, but a lot of things that are just not, accurate. But yeah, society still is hung up on a lot of things, and it's very difficult. It's very frustrating.
Also, Alex, we remember when we had the lawyer. What was her name? Sorry, I forgot. Tamara. I think it was Tamara.
Yes, Tamara.
It was all about Me Too movement and everything. I think we had a discussion about also, it starts with the men. I think men have to check men too. Mm-hmm. And in business or wherever, like if you feel that a man is saying those remarks and talking about women in that way, or, just the conversation needs to change and somebody needs to check somebody, you know what I mean? Because if not, the culture is going to be accepted, people are going to think it's okay, and that's how we never break it,
Yeah.
So like step up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Help us out, brother.
Yeah. No, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that story because I practiced law for many years, and I had a lot of female attorneys that were friends of mine that I'm sure you've heard these stories that when they would walk into a conference room, they would always think it was a court reporter. Stuff like that. Or if they were, if you were a woman and young, that was even a bigger liability because then it wouldn't be like, oh, sweetheart, you don't know what you're talking about. And, it's so... I would be frustrated, and I was a guy, so it's terrible. But yeah, you are right. Men need to step up on that as well because it's just something that in this day and age is completely unacceptable. But unfortunately, still happens.
On that note, like, what would be some suggestions of how to combat that? Because I mean, obviously, it's like just kind of stepping up and saying like, no, you're wrong. But maybe in your professional experiences, ladies, what are some ways that you have found to combat those notions or step up, in those instances? Because you know, you want to be assertive and firm, but you know, you also understand that nobody likes to be yelled at, right? So how do you navigate that?
Well, first of all, don't stay quiet. I champion any woman to speak up and say something. There's nothing worse than a woman being mistreated in any type of way, whichever way it might be, and then sucking it up and not having their own voice. So it's just having a voice, doing it with a lot of poise, and just letting your opinion be heard and getting your point across. That's really the best way to champion it forward, and to make your point be heard. Otherwise, if you go into a battle, you're not going to come out winning. It's just going to be worse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's next for you, ladies? You know, girl, obviously you're starting your 4th year, right? In the podcast, which is no easy feat. You know, is this going to, you know, you've done some live events. Is this going to turn into like a, you know, video thing? Are you exploring other venues, or is it just about keeping that growth and continuing to conquer the world one person at a time?
Alex?
What's next for us? So definitely keep surviving through quarantine. Yes. Hopefully,
with a newborn.
With a newborn, yes. I'm working 7 a.m. till, I don't know, 10 p.m. at night every night. But yeah, it's expanding the podcast, growing our audience more. We would love to get back out there and do more live events. We've been doing some Facebook Lives, teaching people how to podcast themselves. I think it's super important that anybody that wants to start a podcast, they do it. The market is not oversaturated. We support anybody that wants to do that. So I've been talking to a lot of listeners that have reached out that want to do something like that. Then partnering up with amazing brands to spread the word. But
yes,
I don't know. Video, we're going to get there. We're going to get there with video.
We're just the same thing. We've been wanting to do video for a while too.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I was going to say that, video is something that we definitely want, but I think there is, the beauty of podcasting is like, we can do it now during the pandemic, and that's another thing that we've kind of, it's like a new way of doing business for us, especially technical wise. Sometimes I have the issues most of the times, so that's why I'm always like, can you hear me? But we are almost like, we have so many things that we want to do. We want to like partner up with even bigger brands. We were just kind of like brainstorming on like our ideal like big dream brands that we want to work with. So we have that in the works, and just keep building our following and our listenership, and just really, we're all about the content. We're all about making sure that every episode, you know, resonates with someone, that, you know, we get a lot of notes and DMs talking about, you know, I listened to this episode and it really made me want to start back up with my business. Like, you guys really have inspired me to like really go hard. So really, that's really the core of what we do. If it grows even exponentially as we hope it does, that is a blessing. But our mission is to just keep inspiring and keep motivating and keep lifting women everywhere.
Paying it forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if I can just expand that, you know what? You guys are definitely inspiring women, but I have to say, I think you're also inspiring some guys too. You know, like ourselves, you know, because it's like you said earlier, you know, women inherently, whether they accept it or not, or, you know, they know what they got to do, right? They know how to step it up. But, you know, we need guys to be on your side as well. And I think you guys are definitely doing that work.
Well, we need more guys like you guys. And actually, to kind of change the subject a little bit, I want to tell you something, DJ. I love your voice, first of all. You sound like you and Seth Rogen to me.
Oh.
It's a compliment. I love his voice.
I will take that as the ultimate compliment.
Yeah. I wanted to tell you that from the beginning. I'm like, I gotta tell him this, but I hope he doesn't get offended by it.
No, I love Seth Rogen. The Cuban Seth Rogen. I love it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, guys.
No, we're not leaving, Gabby. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You see, guys, it's always something with me. But I thought you were wrapping up. I was like, oh, thank you.
No. She was calling me that I sound like the Cuban Seth Rogen, and I was taking it as the ultimate compliment.
I love it. I am so honored that you guys really, invited us to your podcast. You guys are doing amazing things, and I love that you're all about supporting women. We need more men like you, and God bless you for that.
Oh,
thank you.
And both of you ladies are stationed here in Miami, right? Stationed like you're in the military. You're located here in Miami, right?
Feels like we're in the military with this quarantine. I'm in West Palm.
We are.
I'm in West Palm.
Oh, in West Palm, okay. But South Florida.
I'm in Kendall.
South Florida,
Good
South Florida.
Miami Kendall girl.
In Kendall. Si tú estás cerquita to DJ. You're
yeah.
in Kendall too.
Hey, TJ. You want to go get some croquetas later?
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, we definitely, when this whole Corona thing is over, and this is the one thing that I hate about the Corona. We've done interviews obviously with people all across the U.S. and I think even the world. So we've had to use virtual a lot, but we really miss meeting with people in person.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're in Palm Beach, but we could have met in Broward. I don't know. We could have made like a midway point to do something.
So I actually work in Miami. So, I mean, once the quarantine's over, I'm going back to work. And even before that, my 16-year career has always been from Miami. So I've always done the commute. And all of our interviews were always in Miami. So I would go over there, or Gabby would come to my house and we would do it at my house. So, yes, let's get together when this is all over.
So, but it's been a transition, but we've made it happen. We had to keep going. That was like definitely, there was no thinking about it.
I just want to tell you that if you had licensing, your theme song should be the Beyonce song "Who Run the World," girls.
Oh, thank you.
Totally.
I thought especially with the as we said the type of women that you bring on your show that are like the everyday hustlers. That is what really cements that message of "Who Run the World," girls. So there you go. Beyonce, if you're listening, speak to your licensing company.
Please, license it to us for free, babe.
You're Queen Bee. You can do whatever you want.
Come on, babe. Do it for the Bayhive. What is it? Beehive? Bayhive? I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, but thank you so much for being on our show. We love having you, and hopefully we'll get together in person eventually. But it was an honor and a blast to have you guys on. Yes. So thank you.
You too. You guys are amazing. Thank you for having us, and everybody listening. Thank you so much for the support. If you already are listening to us or following us. If not, make sure to follow @GirlsGoneBoss, and you'll find the latest episodes on our link in bio.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies. And again, hope we chat with you again sooner than later.
We will.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
And we're back.
Yes, we are. I love talking with strong women.
Yeah. I'm that's something that always since I was actually no, let me rephrase that. When I was a kid, I guess this happens to a lot of children. They don't really know the problems in the world. I remember coming to a certain age and realizing that women were not treated the same as men. And the reason I say that is there's a reason I say that is because, well, my parents. Yeah. My father is not the machismo.
No. He's not one of those
at all. He's an
no.
exception to the rule in terms of older Latin men.
Yes.
And
even when he was a younger Latin man.
Yeah. And my mom, especially growing up, my mom was a disciplinarian.
Yes.
Right. And both of my parents always worked. So I never really grew up with like the image of the strong man and like the submissive woman who's stays home and take care of the kids. I never grew up with that image. So when I was of a certain age and I really started to learn like, oh my gosh,
like so barefoot and pregnant and all that.
Yes, and women are not treated the same. Yeah, I'm quite the feminist.
Well, I think our listeners know that by now.
I did go to the Women's March. I didn't wear a pea hat, but but you can't have everything in life. So Are you thirsty?
I am very thirsty.
So I'm going to give my Coke this week.
Okay.
So people don't say I'm a hater.
Okay.
Because
who's getting your soda?
there are times here in this podcast that, especially when the whole, we talked about Black Lives Matter and all that stuff where I've been very, very critical of the police. And sometimes I got a little hate from it, of it, both personally and through the podcast. You hate the police, blah, 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 and I'm like, that's not what I said, but whatever. So I'm actually going to give it to the Miami-Dade Police Department.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
so
what
did they do?
Because they actually did something this week, which, again, people, I'm sure they do on a daily basis a lot of things like this. But this was caught on video, so we saw it on the news. There was a horrible incident this week of somebody, actually by Bird Road, trying to throw himself off the overpass.
Oh, shit.
To commit suicide. And the police were involved, and one officer in particular, I wish I had his name, but one officer in particular literally leaped on the man to stop him from jumping. And, he was deemed a hero and all that. So, and a lot of people saw it because it was filmed from like different angles.
Oh my God. The overpass ahí where the Bird Road on the expressway?
Yes. Bird Road on the Palmetto. Yeah. So, my Coke goes to the Miami-Dade Police Department, especially the Kendall Division, because it was the Kendall. It was
okay. Specifically. Okay.
Right, the department specifically in Kendall, because they gave the press conference outside of the one in Kendall. Okay. So, see, I can give knowledge, I can give credit when credit is due.
And I will say, I don't think you hate the police. I mean, it's very clear that you just want the police to work effectively as possible.
Right. But,
So,
but, when you have a rational idea,
people
attack you.
Silly me. Listen, I'm just going to slap on my Jamaican flag bikini top now and, and call it a day. So, my La Soda, I'm actually keeping it local as well. So, as you know, this past Monday, all the restaurants are open again here in Miami. 50% capacity, but still, it's not just outside. So now people can open and hopefully, they will be able to start making money and pay their bills much more and that. But we have an organization here in Miami. It's called Taste of Miami. It's actually a cookbook for COVID-19 relief. It has over 30 recipes from some of Miami's favorite chefs and local restaurants, and 100% of the proceeds are going to those restaurants' employees. So, where
can we get this cookbook?
So you can go to their Instagram, Taste of Miami, or you can go to cookbook.miami.
We'll put the link.
We'll tag them. But it's, again, it's communities coming together, and although this week has seen us open up again, which is great, it's gonna be a while till that's
great. That's
100%.
Great. Such good news that Rio Cristal
may
not be closing.
I know, at least not for the time being.
I haven't been there in years, but now I want to go.
I went a couple of weeks ago.
But did you
before
eat in there?
Yeah. Before they announced the closing, I went.
But you could eat in there?
Yeah, I went back. I went before Corona. Wait, did I say a couple weeks? Months. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Sorry.
We're going on 6 months here.
ya yo no tengo concepto del tiempo.
Yeah, no,
time is a construct.
We are in that week between Christmas and New Year's. It's just we've been here 6 months.
Oh, is this what purgatory's like?
No, I think it's hotter in purgatory.
We live on the equator. How much hotter?
No, in purgatory, it's probably freezing cold at night and like really hot during the day.
Oh, like los extremos.
Yeah, it's purgatory.
Okay. Well, at least if it is purgatory, I have good company, so that's fine.
Anyway, with that said, okay, we hope everybody listened, laughed, and learned. Remember to grab your croqueta, your pastelito, and your cafecito. And thank you so much for joining us. That was episode 125. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend. Pero Friday.
Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darien Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.